Okay, so just a little add-on to the standard form. The goal here is going to be to get these equations into the slope-intercept form so that we can easily find the slope and the y-intercept. Notice if you looked at the previous example, the directions that we had here were simply to convert to slope-intercept form, which is what we did. That's why we ended there. Very important that you read the instructions on every problem you do, because up here it says find the slope and the y-intercept. Now, you can't really do that by looking at the equation until it's in slope-intercept form. Don't make the mistake of thinking, well, the slope is always the one with the x, so that's -8. That's not true. It has to be in y equals mx plus b form. So we need to do that first. So the goal then is to solve for y, and then once we have it in that form, y equals something times x plus something else, we're going to look at the slope and the y-intercept and pull it straight from the equation. All right. So in this case, I'm solving for y. So I've got to add 8x to both sides, which leaves me with y is equal to, and again, we put the x first, 8x plus 1/2. All right. Now that wasn't what they wanted. We had to put it in this form so that we can find the slope and the y-intercept. Remember, slope is the letter m, and the y-intercept is b. So remember that when it's in this form, the m is with the x, so our slope here is +8. Notice that's positive. If we would have took it from here, it would have been negative when we would have been wrong. The b is what happens when we put 0 in for x. So if I put 0 into that term drops out and leaves me with a positive 1/2. So this crosses the y-axis at 1/2. All right, so there's your slope and your y-intercept. Now take a second on number 2 and see if you can do the same thing here. Solve for y, then find m and b. Pause the video, and then I'll be back in a second to explain. Okay, so first thing we got to do here, we got to get rid of those parentheses. So I've got -4y on this side, is going to stay there. I've got to distribute this 8. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times a -8 is -64x. And again, remember, we like the x first, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to slide it over. So -64x comes first, and then my plus 32, positive 32 on the end. And then finally, to get y by itself, I have to take -4 and divide it into every term. So I'm dividing both sides of the equation by -4. So -4 divided by -4 is 1, so we're left with 1y over here. Negative divided by negative is positive. 64 divided by 4 goes 1 16 times, so that's 16x. 32 divided by -4 is going to be a negative, and then that 4 goes into 32 8 times. So there is our slope-intercept form. Y is equal to 16x minus 8. So to find the slope and the y-intercept, slope is the number that's with the x, so m is 16. Y-intercept is b, and that's what happens when you put 0 in for x, so drop that term out and you're left with -8. So b is -8. So your slope is 16, y-intercept -8. If you have any questions, bring them to class.